It is a moment in American history that those watching will not soon likely forget. The moment the verdict was read in the trial of former officer Derek Chauvin, convicted on all counts in the killing of George Floyd. So now come the questions about the implications of that. What could this mean going forward? So to weigh in on that and give us some perspective when it comes to the past, what we've seen in this country, we want to bring in Dr. Carey Latimore, professor of history at Trinity University. Thanks so much for being with us. Can you first start with that historical perspective? We don't often see officers indicted in shootings, much less convicted. So what does this mean to you?
In a sense, we don't often see them even brought to trial. So that's it's a kind of a new thing, really, to see them brought to trial, indicted, convicted, and then ultimately sentenced. And so throughout our history, it's been very rare to see an officer convicted of crimes such as these. And so that puts the George Floyd decision in a separate category in a sense. And it shows us, I think, that justice can be, or how we use this word, our court systems can be slow to act, but they do show the capacity to act when the situation arises in which it seems like kind of an easy case. And I think that's kind of the Floyd case, was that it was so many reasons to convict here that I think that the jury and all of the systems around it saw it to do that way.
And that's my question. Is there a legacy here to the George Floyd case? Or is this, just one and done? I mean, what are your thoughts on, as a history professor, looking back and looking forward, what is George Floyd's legacy?
Looking back, we've seen so many cases, Emmett Till, in which it wasn't dealing with police, but Emmett Till, the murder of a young man, 1955. The mother opens the casket up for people to see, so the media is brought in. A similar kind of situation, which kind of helps to usher in a civil rights movement. We have Rodney King, not a conviction there. We have a conviction here. Each of these cases, the media was heavily involved. So I think that shows something. I think that the arc of the way that we see justice, or the way that we see jurisdiction, is a little bit different here, because so many people came to say that what happened with George Floyd was wrong. Whereas in the other times, it seemed to be the African-American community almost alone in that case. So I think that separates George Floyd. Now, yes, the George Floyd situation, you have a person leaning on somebody for such a long period of time. This is an extraordinary case because of the evidence. Lots of people witnessed it. You have a very clear video. It's not an issue where a cop could say that it was done over a period of seconds, and so it was a pressure-filled situation. So all of those cases really worked in favor of the kind of decision that we ended up with. But I do hope, and the optimist in me hopes, that this is a sign that accountability, we can look for accountability. We expect it, but hopefully it's a sign of a new time in which accountability is more brought into the fore.
You and I have had conversations over the last year about the protests following the death of George Floyd, framed by the movement of Black Lives Matter. And we've had conversations about how it's a different movement than what we have seen in the past. Now, with the conviction in this case, how do you think, given your historical perspective, how do you think that may change, or does it change, the narrative of the Black Lives Matter movement?
I think we'll have to wait and see. When I was about 14, 15, we had the Rodney King situation. We thought that was a new movement at that point in time, because things were changing and you had a lot of protests, and then it kind of died down. We'll have to see here. I think the difference is that the movement is so diverse, and it includes so many different kinds of people, different ages, different backgrounds. And I think that it's the fact that you have so many people involved on different sides of so many different issues makes it it's going to be much more sustainable. And I think that with the media and also video cameras and body cams and all of these things, we're really having a kind of reassessment of policing in our nation, which we didn't really have that after Rodney King. I think we have that now. And I think that this is a moment in which there's an opportunity for significant change in the way that our nation sees policing and what we expect from our police, et cetera.
Carey, you and I we've talked on air, and you've been very open about growing up in the South and growing up with Confederate statues and Confederate reminders all around you, and how that affected you as a young child. I'm curious, I want you to take off the professor's cap here now. How did the George Floyd decision affect you personally?
You know, I did not watch much of the trial, and that's because I didn't want to see those images over and over and over again. I've seen enough of them. I was relieved when the decision came in because I thought that it was I thought it was a pretty easy case. Personally, that's just my personal opinion here. I was relieved that accountability, someone was held accountable for this, but I have to admit, I thought about all of the other times in which people died, were murdered, or lynched, in which there was no one held accountable. I still think about Emmett Till, in which we know that there are perhaps people still alive who were accountable, who've never been brought to justice. And I think about those cases too. And I think that that's, in a sense, why this is such a difficult issue, because it's so raw for so many people, and so many people have experiences of this in their families, in their communities, in their states. And because of that, all of these issues are raw. And I think it's still raw for me, and I think it's still raw for a lot of people. But at least in this case, we have accountability. We hope that it's the turn, that we're turning another corner here, and that we'll see more accountability, and that we'll expect more accountability. Although we do understand that each individual case is different and has to be viewed differently.
Accountability. Now we see what justice for Derek Chauvin will look like. We wait until June for the sentencing in this case. Dr. Carey Latimore, always appreciate your perspective.
Thank you so much.
Take care. We'll be right back.